Welcome to Practify podcast, the podcast where we go inside the minds of private practice owners who have successfully scaled their practice and are open to sharing the strategies and mindset behind their growth. Today, I'm joined by Nicole Inwentash. I'm excited to have you here. You've built Nutritiously Nicole into a trusted holistic brand, helping people improve digestion, manage sensitivities, and make smarter product choices. Let's jump into your journey and everything you've built. I always like to start at the beginning because it gives us a sense of where everything came from. Your own story had a huge influence on the way you work today. So let's go back and talk about your own path into holistic nutrition, how it began, and what shaped your approach. So, Nicole, what originally drew you into the world of holistic nutrition?
Yeah, great question. First of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here. So my personal journey to holistic nutrition began when I was in high school. I was diagnosed with an ulcerative colitis, which is an inflammatory bowel disease and an autoimmune condition. And at that time, I was getting very frustrated with Western medicine. I visited many different gastros around Ontario, Toronto, and no one could really figure out what was going on with me because, in addition to my GI issue, like my autoimmune issues, I was also having a lot of other GI issues. And during that time, I remember speaking to my mom about everything going on, and she advised me to speak to a food sensitivity practitioner. Now, we're talking almost 20 years ago. So at that time, no one really knew what food sensitivity practitioners were, holistic nutritionists. It was a very hokey term. But I was like, I'm on board. I'm happy to speak to anyone. And she basically ran a bunch of food sensitivity testing on me, and the results came back that I was very sensitive to gluten, dairy, and corn. And at that time, I knew a little bit about the gluten-free diet just because my grandmother, when she was alive, was celiac. My mom definitely is celiac. So I was open to try anything because I was desperate to feel better. I was said, you know what? I'm going to cut out these three food groups for 2 to 3 weeks, see how I feel. Within 2 to 3 weeks, I started to feel so much better. And I became fascinated with how, food can really impact how you feel. And that's when I decided to go the nutrition route and do this for a living and help people based on my own journey.
Great. So, Nicole, you studied and trained as a holistic nutritionist. What
Mhm.
were the biggest takeaways from that process?
Like in terms of my nutrition school, like what I
Yeah,
learned from it,
yeah,
you
exactly.
know, yeah. So when I went to nutrition school, this is in 2013, a lot of people didn't really know about the term holistic. A lot of people in Canada, I don't know what it's like in Africa or South Africa, but we use the word dietitian very often where you follow Canada's food guide and you need to hit a certain amount of grains per day and dairy per day. Where why I was drawn to the holistic nutrition program that I took is it's not a one size fits all approach. So we pay attention to emotional factors, lifestyle concerns. It's more of a whole body, approach that you're someone who has a lot of inflammation. You don't need to necessarily maybe have dairy in your diet. Let's explore. And that's why I like that because we're not all the same and everyone's bio individual, and something that may agree with one person may not agree with someone else. So that's why I went to holistic nutrition school so I could learn just holistic alternative approaches of dealing with the body.
And how would you say your experience with gluten and dairy-free eating shaped the way you work with your clients today?
Gluten-free and dairy-free has changed my life. I've been gluten-free and dairy-free for almost 20 years. And anytime a client comes to me and they present with a ton of inflammation or gut issues, I usually say to them, let's try a gluten-free, dairy-free diet. And the beauty is now there are so many amazing healthy alternatives on the market. Back when I became, gluten-free and dairy-free almost 20 years ago, it was really challenging to find. And a lot of the products were filled with a lot of unhealthy ingredients. But nowadays, when we eat dinners as a family, or if I bake or cook, no one in my family would even know that it's gluten-free and dairy-free because I use healthy ingredients. So a lot of my clients at first sometimes can be a bit intimidated, but as long as I give them a healthy swap or alternative, which I like to call that, then they're like, okay, I'm open to try this and it does taste good.
And Nicole, how did the nickname Product Queen come about, and what did it mean to you?
Yeah, great question. So everyone calls me the product queen because my passion is finding the latest and greatest healthy products on the market. So anytime someone comes to me and says, Nicole, I love just a burger and fries. I said, great, I'm not going to get rid of your burger and fries, but let's find a healthy product or healthy alternative that I can give you that you're going to feel good eating. So maybe we find a grass-fed beef burger with, a whole grain, sprout grain or gluten-free bun. Maybe we find healthy sweet potato fries or regular fries that are baked instead of fried. So I will find the best products, and usually I'm pretty good with that. So that's why people always come to me and say to me, I need chips. What's a good healthy option? And I'll give them a good brand to check out.
Yeah. What fears or hesitations did you have when you first started Nutritiously Nicole?
My Instagram, my social media.
Yeah. Yeah, when you started your
Um,
social media.
I think at the end of the day, when it comes to starting starting an account, you have to be vulnerable, and it's definitely could be scary. I think over time, I've kind of had the mindset of, I don't really care what people think. This is my journey. And if I'm helping people and I'm getting more positive messages than negative, I know I'm making a difference. But I think at the very beginning, when you start anything, it's obviously scary. You're putting yourself out there and you're sharing personal information. But I really enjoy it and I find it super rewarding.
And Nicole, obviously, with that being said, looking back, what's one lesson from those early days you still carry on now?
What's one lesson?
Yeah.
I think one thing I wish I did was I wish I was more active with my social media when I first started it. It's a regret I made, and I feel like I would have. I don't like to say I regret anything, but I feel like I would have been in a bit of a different place, with my content. But what happened was I started in 2016, and then, I stopped it for a bit. I was kind of back and forth. And I'd say in the last like 5, 6 years, I've been really diligent with like posting every day and getting back into it. So there was definitely a lull, and I wish I didn't do that, but it's okay. I'm still here and I still have a very strong NN community.
If you could go back and reassure your younger self when you first started, what would you say?
I think that my younger self was a bit overwhelmed with what to do with my life. I think, I had a lot of interests. I was always a big athlete in high school. I loved playing basketball. I loved learning about health, but it was hard to kind of, you know, narrow down what specific field was the best field for me because I didn't love science. Like I didn't love anatomy. I didn't love biology and chemistry, but I did like the health aspect of it. So I think I was very overwhelmed. And I think the most important piece of advice is you just have to take a risk and see what job is the best fit for you. And before I became a nutritionist, I actually did a little bit of work in entertainment and I realized that that world is not for me, not my kind of people. So, I went back to school. It was the best decision I ever made and became a holistic nutritionist. And it was the best decision for me.
So, Nicole, now that we know where your journey started, I want to kind of understand how you actually work with people today. So, you've got this holistic but realistic style that clients love. Let's
Mhm.
dig into how your philosophy, how you approach digestive health, and how you guide people through real lasting changes. So, how would you describe your philosophy in just a few words?
Great question. My philosophy is I believe in a lifestyle change, something that is sustainable long term. I don't believe in quick fixes. I believe that, you have to put in the work to eat balanced, healthy meals so you're going to feel good for the rest of your life.
And what's one thing that you usually tackle with a new client who comes in with multiple digestive issues?
Usually, when I speak to a client for the first time and they have a lot of digestive issues, I will usually put them on a gluten-free, dairy-free protocol and remove all refined sugars. I don't make anything, unrealistic. I want to make sure they feel sustained. I don't focus on like calorie counting or numbers. I just focus and teach people how to eat properly by making sure that they're getting protein and fat and fiber at all their meals. And I'm also advising them which gluten-free grains are the best ones to purchase. I teach people about ingredients. I try to make it so it's, relatable and consumer friendly so they don't feel overwhelmed when they get to grocery stores how to eat this way. I try to navigate it and make it as seamless as possible.
When you say eating properly, do you focus more on elimination or on replacement and swaps when designing a patient's nutrition plan?
Every single client is different, so it's hard to say specifically. If someone comes to me and says they have a lot of constipation, they have chronic bloating, I may start with gluten-free, dairy-free, corn-free, and no refined sugar. And then what I would do is I'd ask them to fill out a food diary for me and track when they did feel bloated so we could identify any, sensitivities and draw comparisons or correlations between what they're eating and how they feel. If it gets pretty severe and they're still feeling a certain way, I may go on a deeper dive and look at the cruciferous veggies, which is the broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, kale. Those ones could be more bloating. If they have chronic distension in their stomach, I may say, let's talk about the low FODMAP diet. It just depends on, everyone is so different, but usually if it's just general, I say, let's cut out any type of inflammatory triggers. Let's start with no gluten, no dairy, and no corn, and no refined sugar, and let's see how you feel. I don't want to overwhelm the client with so many different, like I want to just stick to one thing at a time and just take it week by week.
Talking about overwhelming, how do you help clients avoid overwhelm when changing their diet and lifestyle?
So, what I always say to clients is don't ever wait till the last minute to figure out what you're going to eat. Because if you wait till the last minute, what happens? You're starving. What do you lean in on? What's easy, quick? Chips, crackers, bread. And there's not anything wrong with those things, but you don't want to have those by themselves. You always want to balance it with protein, fat, and fiber. So what I always say to people is if they're working with me and I have them fill out a food diary, is write in your food diary the day before. Just plan out, it could be the morning up, your breakfast, lunch, snack, and dinner. That way it just takes the thinking away. You're not scrambling the day of. And I also suggest always keep proteins on hand. Keep hard-boiled eggs in the fridge, rotisserie chicken, nitrate-free turkey, cans of tuna or salmon in your pantry. Because if you have those proteins easily accessible, you're more likely to gravitate towards that than all the refined carbs.
And what role would you say does your education play in your client work?
I think my nutrition education was really helpful in building protocols for clients and learning how to build a meal plan and how to make sure meals are balanced with key macronutrients. So the school was a really good stepping stone for me in that direction.
When it comes to digestion, what small change often makes the biggest difference in one's lifestyle?
I would say food. Like, I think food is 100% usually the culprit of people's issues with digestion. If you're someone who, and I would say the gluten, no dairy, no corn, no refined sugar, I really believe in that. And everyone's different. Like, some people might be fine with gluten, some people may be fine with dairy. In North America, we have a huge problem with GMOs and our wheat. And you go to Europe and you're fine. You can be eating gluten and you don't have an issue with your stomach. So it just depends. If you're someone who's been on multiple courses of antibiotics, then yeah, I would say you definitely should be on a probiotic, because what happens when you take an antibiotic, it wipes your bad bacteria, but also your good bacteria, and you need that probiotic to replenish you. So again, it's such a case by case situation, but usually food, I'd say, is the main culprit of why people have digestive issues.
And would you say clients respond better to structured plans or flexible guides?
I think clients like structure. I don't give clients like a specific meal plan that they need to follow, because I find that can be restrictive and then people feel overwhelmed if they don't have a certain ingredient. I give clients a basic meal plan of what every day should look like, but they can deviate from that and switch around their proteins and veggies and grains. But I do find clients need structure, but as long as they understand the basic principles, like my whole thing when I say to clients is when you look at your plate, don't just have a bowl of pasta. Try to dress it with some extra macronutrients. Add the protein, add the fat, add the fiber. Then you'll feel more balanced. Because when people say to me, for example, let's say they're having oatmeal every single day for breakfast and they're not feeling full, I'm like, well, what's in your oatmeal? They'll say oatmeal and berries. I'm like, okay, well, oatmeal, yeah, has some fiber in it, but you're essentially just having carbohydrates in the morning, which will spike your blood sugar. The second you add your protein, whether that's a scoop of protein powder, hemp hearts, some healthy fat like almond butter, peanut butter, and some extra fiber like ground flax, chia seeds, and your berries, even add some cinnamon in there to stabilize blood sugar. That's going to give you a more balanced meals that will keep you more sustained. So just educating people that way. I'm not taking away grains and carbohydrates. It's just teaching you how to eat balanced meals.
Nicole, what does holistic but realistic look like in practice?
What does holistic but realistic look like?
Yeah.
So I live, I'd say 95% of my life is holistic, meaning I pay attention to every ingredient that goes in my body. I cook very clean. I eat very clean. I rarely deviate from that. However, if I'm out, if I'm at a restaurant, if I try a product and there's some ingredients that aren't quote unquote NN approved, Nutritiously Nicole approved, that aren't 100% clean, it's not like I'm going to not have it. I will still have it, but I do try to educate people on the power of ingredients and paying attention to that.
Can you share one client transformation that really shows your approach in action? And that can be anonymous.
I have so many clients that have a lot of transformations. I mean, a client I'm working with right now, she never knew that she was gluten free and dairy free. She never felt like she had any of the symptoms. And every week we were chatting and she just said, like, listen, I'm bloated, but like I feel fine. I'm like, well, maybe it is the gluten, maybe it's dairy. She's like, no, I feel fine eating that. I think it's something else. I'm like, let's just try it. Let's just try cutting out gluten and dairy for a week and see. She couldn't believe how much better she felt. She was amazed. She said to me, Nicole, this is life changing. I never get bloated. I have way more energy. I'm not sluggish after every meal. My bowels are so much better. Like everything has improved. And sometimes with like symptoms, you don't realize you have them until you've removed it. So, for example, let's say you've been eating gluten and dairy every single day and you feel like, okay, it's normal to be bloated. I ate too much, or it's normal to feel tired. I didn't sleep well. Sometimes it's actually the food. And the second you remove it, you're able to pinpoint and be more in tune with your body. So the cleaner you eat, the better you feel. And that was a big transformation to see with that client because she never believed that she would be gluten-free and dairy-free until she removed it and felt so much better.
What's one myth about digestive health you find yourself correcting most often in practice?
I think people think that, listen, I think fiber is important, but a lot of these fibers out in the market, you have to be really careful. And sometimes when I read products that do contain extra fiber, whether that's corn fiber, artichoke fiber, everyone's bodies are built differently, but you have to be careful because it can still upset your stomach. So when something is labeled as high fiber, and they're adding fiber to a food that already has high fiber, you have to be careful because too much fiber is not good unless, you're drinking a lot of water, but it can also impact you and make you feel really bloated. There's a very well-known, I won't say the brand, pasta on the market that's, all over is like high fiber, keeps you full. I remember trying it for the first time. I've never felt more sick. So just be careful when you read ingredients, high fiber and what the fiber is, and see how your gut responds because everyone's bodies are built differently, and some people it might be fine and it might not be the best for.
So, behind every successful practice, there's stuff people don't always see, the systems, routines, and habits that keep everything running. I'd love to hear about how you balance client work, content creation, and your own energy so that your practice grows without you burning out. So, Nicole, what does a typical day in the week of business look like for you?
Every day is different. I try to make sure that I don't get burnt out. I always make sure I don't have too many, dinners out or plans in the evenings because I think it's really important to value time where I can just like rest and relax. I do wake up really early. I work out at 6 in the morning, so I'm up at 5:20 quite often. So sleep is a huge priority for me. I try to be in bed by 10 o'clock, 10:30 latest. Every day is honestly different. Like some days I'm speaking to clients, some days I'm doing content creation, I've been creating a product. There's a lot of different, like every day just looks different. So I feel like I'm pretty good at managing my stress and making sure I don't completely overwhelm myself. And I'll block off times. If I feel like I've seen too many clients, then I might take a day off and not see clients the next day and then work on more content creation. So I have a balance. My fingers in many pies, which is good, but I just try to make sure I never get burnt out.
And what tools or systems do you rely on most to keep things running smoothly?
What do you mean by that? Like,
Do you use any automation tools or systems that really keep things in order for you?
like software systems?
Yeah, yeah.
No, I don't use any software systems.
All right. And how do you manage your time between client work, your content creation, and product education?
Like I said before, I just try to make sure every single day is not crazy jam packed. If some days are more private clients and other days are more content creation, I like to switch it up so I don't get burnt out easily. I feel like if I did just a full day of clients all day long, it's exhausting. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll do breaks in the day of content creation. I'll work on another project I'm working on. I'll do private practice. I kind of switch it up so I don't get burnt out.
And do you have any boundaries in place to protect your energy?
I think with my social media, I'm pretty good like that. I will show some personal elements of my life, but I feel like I do a pretty good job of not showcasing too much of my personal life. I try to draw some boundaries. I know people on social media love to see my personal life, but I try to draw that boundary just because, once you open that door, then you get flooded with so many messages, and I just try to protect that.
And when things do get overwhelming, what's your reset strategy?
I go for a walk. I find walking is the best form for my mental health. So if I'm feeling anxious, overwhelmed, or so much on my plate, then I'll go for a good walk. And I find that makes a big difference, or listen to a podcast.
How do you decide which opportunities to say yes to and which ones don't actually fit?
I'm pretty good like that. Like if someone comes up to me and says they want to work with me as a brand and it's not something that I believe in, I don't care what the monetary amount is. To me, it's, I believe in, my credibility and I want to stay authentic and genuine to my followers. So if it doesn't align with what I practice, then I just politely decline the deal. And I work with brands that I genuinely believe in and that I consume every day. So,
Do you prefer working one to one, in groups, or through product-based education?
I've been in private practice for almost 12 years and I specifically do one-on-one. I've definitely had opportunities where I've spoken to big groups, which has been a lot of fun. I don't mind doing any of it. And then the product innovation side is something that's always been a dream of mine that I've been working on. So that's really exciting. I like doing it all, to be honest.
What habits help you stay consistent with your brand long term?
I think showing up to post every day, getting my followers engaged, staying connected. I respond to every single DM, even if like I'm overwhelmed, I still respond to them all. That I feel like gives me momentum. It's rewarding when people say to me they've made my recipes or, the tips I've shared have really helped them. So when I hear the positive feedback, it keeps me posting and staying consistent.
What's one behind the scenes challenge most people don't actually realize that you may face?
I think that when you show up on social media, you have to kind of show up that everything is perfect in a way. Not that everything is perfect, but that every single day you're happy and, everything's good. And I think we're all human beings and we all have tougher days. And sometimes if I have had a tougher day, I still have to show up online. And I'm not the type of content creator, and some do. And I give them a lot of credit that will kind of just be emotional on camera or saying they're having a bad day. I may say it's been a tough week or, I've had a hard day, but I don't go into details. So to go from, having a hard day to then showing up online and being this positive person, it can be challenging, but I kind of just do it because, I really do enjoy it.
And how do you measure success in your practice outside of just numbers?
I think messages from people writing me how much I've changed their life or how much better they feel, the DMs I get, the texts I get. When people go grocery shopping and they say, "Look at this, it's NN approved," and they like send me a product. that is so rewarding to me. And that's a great way for me to measure success because I see that they're listening to what I'm sharing and educating and they're following through with it.
All right, Nicole, let's switch it up for a minute and let's play a quick game. It's called
Okay.
Truth or False. I'm sure you've heard about it. I'll throw out a
Okay.
statement and you can just answer with truth or false. No explanations, no details, just your gut reaction. Let me know when you're
Okay.
ready.
Okay. I'm ready.
Everyone should cut out gluten for better health.
False.
Dairy-free eating is always healthier.
False.
Product swaps can create lasting change.
True.
Social media is essential for practice growth.
Yeah, true.
Digestive health can be fixed easily.
I wouldn't say easily, but true. Like takes time.
You need supplements to heal gut health.
Not necessarily, but they can help.
Clients stick to a plan 100% of the time.
False.
More clients means more success.
Like false, I'd say.
Holistic nutrition is just about food.
False.
Consistency matters more than perfection.
True.
Great. That was fun. Nicole, something you've done really well is building a presence online. Content, education, and swaps have become a part of your brand, not just your client work. I want to get into how you approach content, what resonates most with people, and how you see your influence growing. So, Nicole, how did you first start building your presence on Instagram?
I started in 2016. At that time, I was kind of just posting small recipes that I was creating and showcasing with my followers. And my big, you know, my goal was to create recipes that were really easy and simple. Because if you follow a recipe that has a million ingredients, a lot of people won't make that recipe. So I tried to keep it really simple. All of my recipes, I'd say like 95% of them are gluten-free and dairy-free. And I felt like that was missing in the market. There weren't a ton of great gluten-free and dairy-free recipes that were out there. So that's how my social media presence started, was just posting recipes that were simple, easy, gluten-free and dairy-free.
And what type of content resonates most with your audience? So, like recipes, swaps, or lifestyle tips?
Honestly, I feel like everything, but it's funny is even though I'm a holistic nutritionist, a lot of my followers really enjoy the personal elements of my life and my fashion, which has been something that is really interesting, even though it's nothing to do with what I do. But so many followers love that. But I think a lot of my followers really appreciate the simplicity in my recipes and that they're easy and that they're low sugar and that they taste good.
How do you decide what to post and share on Instagram?
I don't know. I just feel like it's kind of in the moment thing. I don't plan ahead. Like if there's a content opportunity or something that I'm thinking about, then I just kind of post in real time.
And how would you say you balance keeping things educational but still reliable at the same time?
I feel like I really stay up to date with what's going on with nutrition and products. And even when it comes to products, I go to big health shows. There's a big one called Expo West in California. I go every year. So I'm always up to date with what's going on. And so I share that with my followers.
And would you say you ever feel pressure to post certain things because of trends?
I've never followed trends or posted because of trends. Everything I post is genuine and authentic to me, and I've never followed a trend.
And speaking of authentic, how do you keep your messaging authentic to your values?
Great question. So I practice what I preach, and I think that's really important. Um, you have to practice what you preach, otherwise, you're not relatable or real or genuine, I think. So everything that I showcase and share online is what I do in my home life.
What's the biggest benefit of creating content for your practice on Instagram?
Just getting my name out there as I continue to create products and other ventures in the nutrition space. People know me, I have credibility, they've been following me for a while. So that to me has been great for a stepping stone for other ventures.
And where do you see your practice taking you in the next few years with your online presence?
I think I've been doing private practice now for almost 12 years. So I'm always going to see clients privately. It's something that I genuinely enjoy doing, but I'm also leaning in more on the product innovation side. That's something I'm really passionate about. So in the next couple years, I'd like to see my products really booming and my private practice is still staying where it is. I'm good with that, but really the product side of it is what I want to see be successful.
To wrap things up a little bit, I want to make sure practitioners listening leave with a clear takeaway. You've built a practice that balances personal experience, client results, and brand growth. Let's talk about what advice you'd share with other practitioners and how people can connect with you moving forward. So, Nicole, what advice would you give to someone just starting a holistic nutrition practice?
So, like I said before, you have to practice what you preach. If you come online with a social media presence or you have a private practice and you're not practicing what you're preaching, it's going to be very challenging for clients and followers to relate to you. Your words have to align with what you practice. If you don't agree with another nutritionist, that's okay. We're not all going to agree. You have to have your own views and stay true and authentic and genuine to who you are, because that's how people will respect you and that's how people find you relatable.
How do you recommend practitioners build trust quickly with clients?
I think again, just stems from being genuine, relatable. You don't have to, keep focus on finding, solutions that are going to be sustainable, that people are going to relate to. If you start telling a client that they can only have, a certain amount of calories and you can only have these foods, it becomes very restrictive and the client has a hard time following that. You want to find something that's going to be sustainable with that client. And also you have to know your client. You learn about what they need. And if there's someone who's like, I will never give up potato chips. It's like, okay, well, let's work with the client. Let's figure out a way to keep their favorite food in by finding a healthy alternative. Or if they need to have that, maybe we figure out a way to balance it with some protein and fat. So making sure your client's happy, but also educating them how to eat well.
What's one mistake you made that you'd encourage others to avoid?
Uh, I don't think I have a mistake that I've made. The only thing I would just say is if you're questioning starting an Instagram account, just do it. Like, don't get hung up on the fact that people might say things that you don't want to hear behind your back. Just do it. Just post it and leave. Who cares? Of all the people that may be talking about you behind closed doors, you're also helping so many other people. And that's the way I viewed it. So it comes back to when I started the account in 2016, I wish I stuck to it more religiously than taking breaks and hiatuses. So if you're someone who wants to start it, just start it. Doesn't matter what people think. You're doing this because you love it, but just be genuine and true to yourself.
How do you suggest structuring services so they're sustainable long term?
Like nutrition services.
Exactly.
Usually like when I work with clients, I'll do like a 3 month or a 6 week or, a 6 month package with me. Because if you just do, shorter packages, then I find it's harder for people to stick to something. You want someone to stick to something so it's long term where you can keep checking in with them and it's a good way to keep themselves accountable.
And what's your most impactful offer right now and why?
What do you mean by impactful offer?
Something that you've seen has had the best effect on your clients.
I think having weekly appointments once they've signed up with me is the best benefit to them because they're accountable to me each week and they have to check in and tell me what's going on. And when you know you have an appointment booked at the back of your head, you're better off making healthy choices than when you don't. So I find the accountability aspect's a big part of it.
How can practitioners stand out in a crowded space like holistic nutrition?
Again, you just have to like be yourself and figure out something that you're super passionate about. For me, it was always about digestion and products and lifestyle and working out. And that's something that's me. And if you're another practitioner and you want to do all of that, that's fine. But just make sure you do it because it genuinely aligns with what you practice. So again, you have to be genuine and you have to practice what you preach. And that's the best way where people will relate to you, but you have to stick to what are sharing with your audiences.
What's the best way for listeners to connect with you or start working with you even?
So on my Instagram at Nutritiously Nicole, and you can DM me. My email is nutritiouslynicole@gmail.com. So if you want to book an appointment with me or you want to follow me, those are the best ways to reach me.
If someone listening wants to make one change this week for better digestion, what would you tell them?
Well, there's a few things I would tell them. I'd probably tell them number one, increase their water intake. A lot of people don't drink enough water. I would say remove refined sugars and processed foods and also prioritize sleep and movement. So try to get in at least 30 minutes of movement every day and try to get into bed no later than 10:30.
Nicole, thank you so much for joining me today. Your story
Thank
and
you for having
insights are going to help so many practitioners think differently about their own path. For everyone listening, if you want to connect with Nicole or explore her work, check the show notes and the links for her Instagram and resources. Thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you in the next episode.
me. Thank you.